Hey everybody, I am building you this little recording, this video, to serve as me telling you what you're going to be doing this Friday in your teams. And the reason I am doing this by recording and not on Friday is because Thursday I will be getting my second vaccination, and based on my really crazy reaction that I had to the first one, my doc thinks I should be prepared to have kind of a wild ride on Friday. So I am afraid I will not necessarily be in teaching form on Friday. So instead of meeting in the classroom, I'm going to ask that each of your teams meet. One of you set up a Zoom and send the Zoom link to the rest of your team members, and please meet in teams on Friday without me. I will put up a discussion board on Canvas, and I need each of you, not just one per team, but each of you to go on to the discussion board if you want attendance and say what you worked on personally during your team meeting on Friday. Okay, so that's what the deal is going to be this Friday. Let's talk a little bit about the visual you see in front of you. This is obviously a list of things we've already talked about in class, but as you know, I like to give you this list so that you can say, yes, I've done this, yes, we've done this, yes, we've done this, oops, time to work on this next thing. So this is your list. Hopefully by Friday, the first 3 things will already be done because they were actually due the 22nd. But, stuff happens, and if you haven't finished those 3 things, that would be the first thing I would work on as a team. After that, whatever else you've got done, there's just a little reminder there to go ahead and pop it on the website, because if I can take a look at it, if it's perfect, I can tell you and you can relax. And if it's not perfect, I can tell you and you can come back and fix it. My goal is for you to have me look at everything as you do it and have it get, have it as soon as it's good, have you be able to relax and not think about it by the end of the semester. You shouldn't have to be rushing to get anything done. All right, so here's kind of the things that I think if you aren't done with, you should be working on. You should finish your mission statement and your vision statement. We haven't actually talked about values yet, so you can think about those if you want, but at least your mission and vision statement should be good. I'd put them up on the website, please. Then if you haven't, you can finish brainstorming the board members, and you will remember that I gave you a chart or a table, or I'm not sure there's just one, but anyway, you will want to basically, you will want to take a look at that chart and make sure and have a little brainstorm session about what kinds of skills and competencies you need on your board, and also what kind of diversity. It could be racial, ethnic, cultural diversity. It could be diversity to try to match the percentage of demographics in your community. It could be geographic diversity. It just depends on your organization, right? So if you are a statewide organization, you're going to need representation from across the state. If you basically are serving, as one of our groups are, Hispanic and Latino families, then you're going to want to make sure that you have many people who are represent resources from the Hispanic community on your board, but also you will need to think beyond that, not just to what race somebody is or their ethnic background or whatever, but to what their skills and competencies are that you won't be hiring. They won't be employees, so you'll need them on the board. Okay, when you get done with your board, you will want to finish brainstorming the employees and the volunteers you're going to need to actually run your organization, right? So I think I gave you 7 minutes to get started on that, so I bet probably nobody's done with that, right? If you will recall, we talked about employees being in positions where we need certainty that they're going to be there and that they're going to give X number of hours to their job every single week and all the days that they need to be there, etc. Volunteers basically a little more iffy about them. Of course, that is not a hard and fast rule. We talked about that too. There are some all-volunteer organizations, but still do your best to think that through. And then once you have figured out what employees and volunteers you will need to staff your work, that's when you're going to put them onto an organizational chart. And you will recall the PowerPoint that I showed you with lots of different visuals, and the way you'll remember our conversation, the way that you decide what your organizational chart should look like is to think about who needs to communicate with whom and where decisions are going to need to be made. So just a reminder, if a lot of decision making happens at lower levels where information is right at street level or right working with the clients, then you're going to want to make sure that the people who work with the clients have the authority to make the decisions that they need and the training actually to be able to make those decisions. If the decisions have to do with, like, I don't know, some kind of a act of God happens, hurricanes, tornadoes, if you're some kind of a organization that works with catastrophes, and there are organizations like that, right? You might have to decide that you're going to shift a big part of your budget towards something that just comes up right now. That's going to be the kind of decision that's got to be made up the ladder, right? Because if you take a large chunk of budget that was going to be spent over here and now you move it to this program, lots of people are going to be affected in terms of their budgets inside the organization. That has to be coordinated from on top. So my only point is talk about who needs to make decisions and what size of decisions. And the bigger the decision, probably the more it's going to need some upstairs interaction. The more frequent the decision, though, the more you're going to have to distribute that power, and your organizational chart should basically reflect that. Okay, so you can revisit my PowerPoint, which is on the Canvas Facebook, on the Canvas Fake Organizations page. And you could also look up organizational charts on Google if you don't see something in my PowerPoint that you like. All right, or figure it out yourself. Just draw something. If you have gotten all that done, maybe think about a name for your organization. And another thing you need to be doing, you could start that if you are done with those other things, is to begin looking up the actual salaries that you're going to pay your employees. That is the last, that's the last little square right here on your to-do chart. Basically, I'm sending you to this page called payscale.com. I'm sending you there. There's other ones, but I'm asking you to use Payscale because they are the one that I find to be most realistic. Okay, if you use another one like salary.com, you're going to find that the numbers are completely different. All right, so I want to show you an example of one that I did. I plugged in, you'll see up here, there's like a little search bar on this thing that says search salaries, if you can read that. And I plugged in Program Manager, Nonprofit Organization, Phoenix, Arizona up there. And what popped up for me right away was the average base salary is $49,276. And that's helpful. If you look to the right, depending on the size of your screen, you might not be able to see this, but you will see that it says base salary and there's a range. The low is $37,000 and the high is $78,000. And how will you know which of those numbers or where in between you should be? Well, I'm okay if you use the average, but if you really want to think about it, if you're a very small organization, you're probably going to be on the lower side. If you're a large organization and the person has an awful lot of responsibility, you're going to want to be on the upper side. So you need to think about how complicated this person's job is going to be. How many people are they going to manage? How many programs are they going to manage? How many, folks are going to come through your doors? If you are going to be seeing 50 people a year, you can probably pay somebody at the lower end. But if they're going to be seeing 5,000 people a year, or if they're going to run 7 programs, then you're going to need to be at the upper end. Okay. Anyway, you're going to need to plug in every single one of your employees. You're going to need to, do your best to figure out a title, whether it's social media if executive director, whatever it is, plug it into pay scale. Be sure and put Phoenix and nonprofit, or you will get a pay scale for a private and maybe for the whole United States. We don't want that. And write these down somewhere, because pretty soon, in a couple weeks, we are going to be figuring out how much it's going to cost us to run this nonprofit organization. And it's not that hard to figure out, but you're going to have to look up the salaries. People salaries are the most expensive part of running most organizations. I mean, there might be some that have really highly expensive technology, but mostly it's people. So these are the things that if you haven't already done them, you should be working on as a group on Friday. Remember that every one of you, to get your attendance points, needs to show up at the discussion board that is titled February 26th Friday Group Work Discussion, or something similar to that, and post what you personally worked on Friday. And I expect everybody to meet during regular class time at 10 in the morning. The only exception to that would be if everybody in the team found it to be completely easy to meet at another time. Otherwise, please use the time that's been allotted for it. And that's it, folks. I will be in class obviously Wednesday, and if you have any questions about any of this stuff, be prepared to ask. And then as you're working, if you have questions, feel free to shoot me an email, and during that time, assuming I'm not throwing up or something, I will be paying attention to my email. I may not be sitting up, but I will definitely be waiting to help you. Okay, that's it. And again, questions about this on Wednesday, and I will see you Wednesday in class.